Iowa Live.
From the Carl Chevrolet Studios in West Des Moines, welcome to Iowa Live. I am Lou, and it is time to visit with attorney Kim Baer and find out about something that is very important, especially if you have kids. Kim, good to see you again.
Yes, good morning, Lou.
Now, what are we talking about here this morning?
Well, I thought today we'd talk about the different types of custody with regard to children.
Okay.
And there's two types of custody. One is legal custody and one is physical custody. So with regard to legal custody, that's decision making. So for example, if you and I are married and we have children and we're going to get divorced, in most cases, you know, probably 95% of the cases, we're going to have joint legal custody.
Okay, got it.
And that means that we both have the right to make decisions about school and education and medication decisions and things like that.
And that's very common.
It is very common.
Yeah.
It is very common. Now, you can have sole legal custody, but we typically only see that come up in situations where maybe one parent, there's been a lot of physical abuse, or a parent's in jail or something like that, or the parents just really cannot get along and the court makes that finding.
Okay.
But in most cases, it's going to be joint legal custody. And the joint legal custody means we have equal decision-making power. If one of us has primary physical care, that doesn't mean that they trump. And that's a misconception.
Oh, okay. I didn't understand that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So then the other type of custody I thought we'd talk about today is physical custody.
Okay, now explain what physical custody is, because I understand there's a couple different kinds.
Yes. So in Iowa, you can have primary physical care, you can have joint physical care, and you can have sole physical care. Okay. So primary physical care is kind of what we used to see in the olden days, where usually mom stayed home, you know, one parent stayed home, took care of the kids,
right,
and maybe the dad worked. And so if the couple got divorced, usually mom would have primary care. And what primary care really means is that that parent has more than 50% overnights.
Okay. So that's the definition then, primary.
That's the definition. Now, you know, we don't see that as much anymore. I mean, people kind of push for shared care, but before I move on to shared care, I just want to tell you, so primary care, let's use us as an example again. Let's say I'm going to have primary care, which means I'm going to have more than 50% overnights. You're going to pay me child support for the kids, but then I'm going to have to use that child support to pay for the daycare and the soccer fees and the school fees. We'll still divide medical expenses, but the primary care parent, you know, has to take care of the expenses using the child support.
Using the money that's coming in.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Another reason why somebody might really want primary care is if they think that down the road they might want to move, because courts are pretty flexible about letting a primary care parent move if they have a good reason.
Okay, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Now, let's talk about the next.
Yeah, so then the other one that we see a lot is shared care. And shared care is exactly what it sounds like. It's joint physical care. It's 50-50. Sometimes we'll see what we call an 8-6 schedule, where maybe, you know, you're having 8 overnights in 14 days and I'm having 6 overnights in 14 days, but we still might call it shared care.
Got it.
And shared care means we have to be able to communicate. We're going to be making lots of decisions together because we have equal physical care. It makes it more difficult for one of us to move because we've basically agreed that we're going to both be very active in the children's lives. And if I make more money than you and we have shared care, I'm probably still going to be paying you a little bit of child support just to equalize.
Got it.
But then we're going to share those expenses. So,
got it.
Yes,
Okay, so that would be the shared care.
That'd be the shared care.
And then the final one is pretty easy, though.
Yeah, it's sole physical, and we just rarely see that. You know, the few times in my career when I've seen it, again, has been somebody's in prison, somebody has a alcohol or drug issue, you know, because what we're really saying is you're not going to have any rights with regard to visitation. And so that's we rarely see that one.
Okay, so a lot of factors to keep in mind, and pretty clear-cut different ways of handling the situation, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, most people that come into our office are wanting shared care. Sometimes people say, hey, I travel for work, so I really can't do shared care. Or the other parent really has been the primary parent.
Right.
Or sometimes we have teenagers, and teenagers might have a preference to be with dad or to be with mom. Another misconception that people have is they think that teenagers can decide. Teenagers definitely have a say, but they're not the deciders.
Got it.
It's one factor of many that the court would look to. As you might imagine, so we don't want to put kids in the middle. And sometimes teenagers want to be with the parent that's more lax,
Of
which
course.
is not really in their best interest.
That's why it's important to get the right legal advice. If people want to get a hold of you and get the process started, what's the easiest way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, just give us a call, 515-279-2000. We're more than happy to sit down and have a cup of coffee and talk about your situation.
All right. So questions about custody, actually get them answered over at Baer Law Office.
We're happy to help.
Wonderful. Kim, thank you so much.
Thanks, Lou.
We'll be right back. This is Iowa Live.